Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Guy, and today on the show, I wanted to take a little time talking about and sharing with you one of my amps. It's this amp right here, the Marshall DSL100HR. I wanted to, contemplate, ask the question of myself and of you guys, is this amp still worth it? Is it worth the money? Is it an amp worth owning and buying in 2025? The spoiler alert, the short answer from me is yes, I think it is still worth it. I think it's a great amp. But I know a lot of people don't love it. There's, some negative commentary online about this amp amongst, different guitar gear and amp enthusiast groups and whatnot. So yeah, I just wanted to talk about this amp. I'll have some playing demos. I'll weave in some clips of me playing the different modes, clean, crunch, overdrive 1 and overdrive 2, the 4 voices of this amp. I'm not going to do a ton of playing because this is an amp that's been around for a really, really long time. And no doubt anyone that's interested in it knows, what it sounds like and what it's capable of. There's no shortage of videos online about this amp. But yeah, I'll do a little bit of playing as well. Now, if you're curious about the signal chain of any of the audio recordings that you're going to hear, it's guitar into pedal board. I'm not using really many pedals, maybe the Boss SD1 overdrive, and maybe a little bit of reverb or delay. That's really it. Then that goes to the amp itself. The amp is running to a Mesa V30 loaded 2x12 horizontal speaker cabinet, which is across the house in the closet with an SM57 and an MD421 microphone on each speaker. And that's getting routed back in here over 50-foot long cables into my audio interface. And that's it. Post-production wise, I might do a little tiny bit of low pass, high pass filtering just to get rid of all the super sub blows so you don't hear my my air conditioner maybe kick on or any sort of rumble or anything like that. But I won't be manipulating the sound files in any way other than just a little bit of low pass and a little bit of high pass filtering. So that's the signal flow for all of the audio demos that I'll paste in here and there. So one of the first things that I see people talk about, or I have seen people talk about, is the DSL100HR in this case. Is it too loud for like an at-home amp? Can it do like bedroom level volumes, pleasantly? And yeah, I think it sounds great, even at low volumes. Now, every amp sounds better when you turn them up, of course. But if we're talking about, in that like 70 to 80 decibel range, which means you probably wouldn't be playing it with, somebody sleeping in the next room. But certainly you could play it and not disturb your neighbors. And, if nobody was sleeping, they probably wouldn't care too much. I mean, I play it all the time and my wife's in the next room watching TV or whatever. She has no problems. So yes, you absolutely can have a 100-watt amp like this and play it at low bedroom level volumes at home. And it sounds great. And it's not too loud. The key with this amp in particular is that it has a pair of master volume controls. And you dial in the channel volume to the level that you want for the tone, not the volume. And then when you get that tone level on the channel volume set, then you do the master volume to control the overall output of the amp. And you can make it real quiet. It sounds great. Now, I have seen people suggest like different ways to optimally run this amp to get the best tone, and I've seen people say you got to turn the channel volume all the way up to maximum. That, in my experience, that is not the best way to run this amp. It gets very, very noisy, even when you bring the master volumes down. And I've also heard people say you got to crank the master volume all the way up and then control the overall output with the channel volumes. And again, that I've tried, does not work for me. It just creates tons of noise. I turn the channel volume up to where I'm getting tone that I like, and then I control the output with the master volume. And for me, that works perfectly at nice, relatively quiet, speaking like you could talk over it type volume levels, all the way up to, tearing your head off super loud. Now, another complaint that I hear people mention about this amp is that it's not made in the UK. Currently, it's made in Vietnam, and yeah, it's an overseas production amp. The upside to that is, it's affordable. Right now, you can pick these up for $829 US American dollars, if I'm not mistaken. And I mean, I got mine, I don't know, within the last year, and I got a 10% discount, so it was under $800 when I bought this amp. And for $800, I'm not sure if there's a better deal on the market for like a brand new full-size 100-watt head. Maybe the PV or PV, no, not PV, EVH 5150 Iconic. That's only 80 watts, but who cares? 80 watts, 100 watts, doesn't matter. But maybe that's an equally good deal. I have a buddy that has that amp, and I'm going to try and convince him to bring it over here so we can do a video on that amp as well. I think that would be a lot of fun. And compare it with this amp because they're at similar price points. But yeah, I can't think of too many amps that are under $1,000 that sound as good as this and that are as good of quality as this. And I guess quality is another thing people mention. Part and parcel with the being made overseas part of this discussion is that because it's made in Vietnam or anywhere in Asia overseas, a lot of people automatically think like, oh, well, it's not good. It's not high quality. I mean, I don't know. I had the DSL40 CR combo version of this amp for years, and it was perfect. Never had a single problem with it. So I don't know what we're talking, 3 years probably. I had it for about 3 or 4 years. This one, again, I have had for less than a year, but no issues with this one either. So yeah, I mean, I don't think where it's made necessarily dictates whether or not it's quality. That said, would I like that it would be made in the UK? Sure, I guess I would, but it wouldn't cost the same amount of money. It would be $2,000 to $3,000 instead of $800, and I don't think I really want to pay more money just to have it made in the UK. Sure, it'd be cool if it was made in the UK for $829, though, I guess. One of the features about this amp that I personally really like and I really appreciate is that you can, when you change the power tubes, bias this amp yourself, because there are little points and little knobs on the inside of the amp. You take the back panel off. And with a multimeter, it's super easy. You put the black probe in the black hole, you put the red probe in the red hole, look at the millivolts reading, and spin the little knob until it reads the number that it's supposed to read, which I've been told by Marshall is 70 millivolts, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, you can change your tubes and make sure that they are biased without having to pull the whole chassis out and start digging around the circuitry on the underside of the amp and, potentially exposing yourself to lethal levels of electricity. I really like that aspect of this amp. So whenever I'm buying tube amps, I'm always trying to either buy tube amps that are completely self-biased, or I guess it's called cathode biased maybe, where you can change the tubes out and you don't have to do anything, like my Mesa dual rectifier. You just make sure you buy the right tubes, and that's it. Put them in, you're done. So I either buy amps like that, or I try to buy amps like this that are super easy to bias yourself. That's something I really like about this. Tone-wise, and I kind of play a lot of different stuff. I mean, right now, I'm holding my Fender Stratocaster with single coils. This isn't like a heavy metal hardcore thrash guitar, but I play all kinds of different stuff. I like clean and edge of breakup sounds. I like kind of mid-gain and crunch tones, and I like super high gain, like heavy metal, thrash metal, that sort of stuff as well. And that's the nice thing about this amp, is it can do all of it, and it does all of it really, really well. Cleans sound great. Edge breakup stuff sounds great. On the main classic gain channel, I believe is what it's labeled at on the front panel, you got the green clean mode, and then you've got the orange crunch mode. And yeah, with the cleans, crystal clear, sparkly, chimey cleans, I think they sound fantastic. And on the crunch mode, you get that really nice edge of breakup really easily at any volume. And the amp is super responsive, which is a complaint that I have about other amps that I've had in the past. I had a 5150 in the past, the EVH 5150 350 watt. And that was not like really responsive, right? If you dialed in the amp to be like clean, but like if you play hard, you want it to break up, I could not make that amp do it. It was too compressed, and that's just not the character of that amp. On the other hand, this amp, on the crunch channel in particular, and I can play a nice, delicate little chord, and it'll be perfectly clean. And then I can just go, and like, it'll break up and it'll distort, and it sounds awesome. I really love that versatility on that classic gain channel. Then on the modern gain channel? I don't know, the second channel, it's got OD1 and OD2. And OD1, the green channel, You can get all of your like crunchy mid-gain tones, and if you put an overdrive in front of it, you can really start to push it into that kind of thrashy JCM 800 boosted kind of tones and stuff like that, which is great. And then you can go over to the red channel and get even more, and now you're talking full-blown heavy metal, hardcore, death metal, whatever tones you need. Does it need a overdrive pedal or a boost in front of it to really get you all the way there? I mean, for me, yeah, it does. I always have a Boss SD1 or an Ibanez Tube Screamer TS9 or some sort of overdrive in front of this amp when I'm trying to really get to that super high gain territory. But that's fine. I mean, I have a Mesa Boogie and I have to boost that amp too. Again, you know, Boss SD1 is probably the best boost for both of those amps, this Marshall and my Mesa. TS9 is great as well. I've got some other more boutique pedals, like I'm just starting to really get into and test different types of overdrives. And honestly, I haven't found one that beats the SD1 yet, but you know, I'm trying. I'm going to see if I can find something that's even better. That said, yeah, you need an overdrive with this amp if you really, really, really want to go crazy and keep it tight, but also brutal high gain. But that's fine. You can get every single tone from super chimey clean all the way up to the most aggressive, you know, destructive overdrive and distortion that your heart's content could be going for. Negatives about this amp. Okay, so I was talking to my buddy Tom, who's got this amp as well, and he was like, "What are your negatives?" And I was like, "I don't know. I can't really think of any. I mean, you know, maybe it's not made in the UK. Is that a negative?" Again, we addressed that. The quality of the Tolex covering, I don't know. It's kind of weird. It's kind of like slick and shiny, and it feels a little bit cheap. But who cares? It's fine. There is a negative I did think of though, and it's a minor negative, I guess, but you have a shared EQ stack and, you know, basically 4 channels. Technically it's 2 channels, but each channel has 2 voices. They all share the same bass, middle, treble, resonance, presence, etc., which, you know, that's normal. Presence is usually shared, but it would be nice if you had more options with regards to the EQ stack on this amp, considering there's so many voices or voice options. Other than that, though, yeah, I can't really think of many, if any, negatives. I mean, given the price of this amp, it's super affordable, and for that price, I think you get so much bang for your buck that, yeah, I can't really complain. Another potential negative, and I demonstrated it in one of the playthrough examples, is, I don't know, the tone shift. There's this little button right here in the middle of the EQ buttons called tone shift, and most people regard the tone shift button as like being just absolute garbage and you should never use it and it sounds terrible. I kind of like it. I mean, it actually makes this amp sound really similar to my Mesa Boogie dual rectifier when you engage that tone shift. The trick for me is you push the tone shift in and it's going to make the amp sound super scooped. Then you push the mids, like bring the mids up to like 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock after you push the tone shift in, and you put some of that mid-range back into it after the tone shift button scoops it. And I think that sounds actually really good, especially with a mid-focused overdrive like a TS9. That's going to put even more mids into the signal. And yeah, in my opinion, that sounds great. In particular, going through my Mesa 212 Vintage 30 loaded cabinet, which are, again, kind of spiky mid-forward speakers. But, you know, maybe if you have different speakers, different speaker cabinet, different guitars and pickups, or just different musical taste, you won't like the tone shift button. A lot of people don't. I guess that could potentially be a negative. So I asked the question on the Marshall Amplification Owners group on Facebook, like, hey, anyone that has this amp or has ever had it, you know, what do you think of it? What are your pros and cons? And there was some good ones here. So I figured I would share those with you and what other people are saying, and I'll chime in on what I think about them. First one here is the only real negative for me was the shared EQ. You know, I addressed that already. That is kind of a negative, having to share one EQ tone stack with potentially 4 different tones or voices. Yeah, that does kind of suck. The next one was the biggest issue with the amp is that it's dumb to have the reverb knobs on the front panel. Okay, I didn't address the reverb. The reverb on this amp is not great at all. I guess that's a negative. Yeah, I never use it. I have a Boss RV6 pedal on my pedal board right here. If I want reverb, that's what I'm going to use for reverb. But this person, what they say is kind of interesting. You know, why put those reverb knobs on the front? It's not like you go around adjusting them all day. How about remove those knobs, put them on the back, and that leaves more space for, you know, extra bass and treble controls for the other channel. So you could have 2 sets of EQs, one for the classic gain channel and one for the high gain channel. I mean, it's not as easy as adding some extra knobs, obviously. Like, they'd have to completely change the circuit, and that would, you know, create more expense for making the amp and whatnot. That said, hey, I'm all in. Like, sure, get rid of the reverb altogether and give me another bass, middle, and treble for independent control of both channels. I'd be down for that for sure. What else we got here? Somebody says, keep one of the master volumes on 10 or the amp will sound congested. Yeah, this is, again, we talked about people saying, like, you got to run the master volumes all the way up and control the volumes with the channel volumes. Not in my experience. For me, that doesn't sound good. It just creates tons and tons of noise. This fella here says the cons are that he found his needed to be biased correctly straight from the factory. It sounded really thin and buzzy and lifeless when he got it. And he was going to return it, but he said, you know, before I return it, I'll try to bias it. He did bias it, and he said that once he did that and biased it to 72 millivolts, the amp became a fire-breathing beast, and he loves the dual master volume setup. Yeah, like I had mentioned, biasing it is super easy. I really appreciate that. That said, I biased mine when I first got it as well, and I could audibly hear no difference. When it came out of the box, the bias was really low. It was like around 52 or 53 millivolts on one set of tubes, and it was at 60 on another set of tubes, and I biased them both up to be at about 70, which is what Marshall recommended to me, and I couldn't hear a difference at all. But this user says that they could hear a big difference. So yeah, that's cool. I do like the ability to change tubes and bias the amp. Another person says that he found it to be extremely fizzy and way too bassy. He could get decent tones, but not good enough to keep it, so he didn't even keep his. Too bassy is not how I would describe this amp. Is it fizzy? I mean, I don't know. If you push the presence too hard, for sure it could be fizzy. And I wouldn't say that this amp lacks bass, but it's not overwhelmingly bassy. I've never been like, oh, geez, I got to turn that down to like 9 o'clock in order to control the bass on this amp. Never have I felt like there was too much bass in this amp. So that's a little weird, but that's another comment. Now, yeah, what is there? One more? Oh, okay. This person, prose-wise, he says it's the best sounding loop in any Marshall model, and he has 4 stacks, and these and the cleans and the dirty sounds are killer as well. But yeah, so the effects loop on this amp is it's good. I mean, I don't know. I don't have that big of a basis of of comparison. I've owned, I don't know, somewhere between 5 and 10 tube amps, I guess, over the course of the last few years since I've been getting back into guitar. I've only been back into playing guitar since maybe 2018, so maybe 5 or 6 years, casually, not obsessively. I played when I was a kid, but when I was a kid, I never had really nice tube amps, really. But yeah, I don't know. The effects loop works. I don't know what a bad sounding effects loop is. They've all been fine. But anyway, someone said that they thought that this amp had the best effects loop they've ever tried. So yeah, this Marshall DSL100 is super killer, that's for sure. But what about the other models? You got the DSL1, I think there's a 1-watt version, there's the 5-watt version, a 15-watt version, and a 20-watt version. Those are all heads. Then there's a 20-watt combo, a 40-watt combo, and then there's the 100-watt head. I think that's all of them. The only ones that I've tried are this one and the DSL40CR. I've never tried any of the smaller heads, the 20, the 15, the 5, or the 1. I've never tried the smaller combo. Personally, if someone asks me, should I get the DSL20? No, why would you? I'd be like, okay, if you want to save a little money, I guess that's why you would. But if it's because you want something quieter, this sounds fantastic at low volumes. Don't waste money getting the quieter amp. This is quiet enough. And if you want a combo, the DSL40 is the one to get, not the DSL20. Unless, again, you want to save a little money, or if maybe space is an issue. I guess I could see oh, well, they're just too big. They take up too much space. Okay, the DSL40 is, it's not big, but it's, for a combo, it's good sized. And maybe the 20 is a little smaller. Maybe you can't have this 100-watt head plus a 2x12 or, God forbid, a 4x12 cabinet. So, okay, space, that's one reason to get one of the smaller ones, or cost. But when it comes to sound and tone, just get the big ones. They sound really, really good, and they sound really good at all volume levels. So, yeah, that's my piece. I've never even bothered to try one of the smaller ones because why would I? This thing is freaking awesome. It sounds great whether I'm playing at home in my bedroom or, whether I want to play really, really loud. So is the DSL range of amplifiers, in particular the DSL100, and I'll include the 40 in this as well, are they amps that are worth buying in the year 2025 and beyond? And yeah, absolutely, because they're crazy good value. They're super affordable, relative to tube amps anyway. They're, not super affordable relative to just like, it's still a lot of money, $800, $900, whatever it comes out to be with tax and then shipping and everything, even at $1,000 if you had to pay tax and shipping and everything. Yeah, that is a lot of money. But relative to, what else is out there, it's, actually a really good deal or good option. There are cheaper, lower wattage, smaller amps, of course. I don't know, you could get the Orange Dark Terror, which I would like to get. I'd like to try to get one of those little, I think it's a 15 or 20 watt orange amp and run that through its paces. It looks cool. That's more affordable, a little bit anyway. Yeah, there's other stuff out there that's more affordable, but if you want like a 100-watt head with kind of 4 channels, I mean, it's 2 channels, but each channel has 2 modes. It's like 4 different channels though. I mean, I don't know. It's a great option. It really is. Sounds awesome. Great value, absolutely no major complaints, little complaints like I wish it had better EQ options for all the channels. Yeah, I get it, that would be nice. But for what I do, it's actually not necessary. Like mostly I'm playing at home and I'm recording for fun, and I can change the knobs in between takes when I'm recording stuff. So not a big deal. I don't actually really need to have all of the expansive EQ options that you would have on an amp like the JVM 410, for example. That has 4 channels and 4 sets of controls, volume, gain, EQ, everything. I don't really need all of that for what I do, but I'd take it if I could have it at no extra cost, of course. But yeah, just it is really a great amp with very, very, very few negatives, and I do highly recommend it today, and yeah, I can't say enough good stuff about it, honestly. I think, my buddy asked me, he's like, how does it compare to the Mesa? I got the Mesa not too long ago, the new Mesa Boogie 90s reissue dual rectifier. And like at a quarter of the price, it's, I mean, almost, tone is, I was going to say it's almost as good. Realistically, it is pretty much as good. It's just that tone and the taste in tone is subjective. While I do prefer the sound of the Mesa a little bit over this, that is subjective. You might not. You might prefer the Marshall sound over the Mesa sound, in which case it's like, wow, you could get this for $800 instead of $3,500 for a dual rectifier. That's insane value. Getting a really good, amazing sounding, quality amp for a quarter of the price of, something else that lots of people really like and really want. So yeah, it's amazing. It's awesome. Highly recommend it. And yeah, I just wanted to do a video to, talk about this amp, show a few little playing demos, and tell you what I think about it. Say, yeah, if you're thinking about getting one in 2025, I do recommend checking it out. This isn't sponsored in any way. I bought this amp. I own this amp. Nobody gave me this amp. I just like it. I've had a version of the DSL for years now, and, it was the combo, the 40-watt combo before, but now I got this one. And yeah, no intentions of really ever getting rid of it. I'm going to keep that along with my Mesa, and maybe I'll get some more amps down the road. But I hope to have this in my stable for as long as I possibly can, because it is absolutely outstanding. All right, well, that'll wrap this one up for today. Let me say thanks for tuning in and watching. If you could do me a favor, subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to grow this channel. I need subscribers. I need you to click that button. If you like what I'm doing here, if you want to see more guitars and amps and stuff like that, might even throw in some keyboard synthesizer stuff occasionally because I like synths too. But yeah, hit subscribe. I would really, really appreciate it. Also, click the like button while you're down there. It's right there. Just takes 1 second. And yeah, that'll wrap this one up for today. So thanks again. And until the next one, I'm going to go ahead and sign off and say bye now.